Hello?
Oh, yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Hello?
Is this Mrs. Dorothy Letterman?
That's right, Dorothy.
Yes, it is. Who's this?
Are you the mother of David Letterman who does Late Night on NBC?
For millions of Americans, Johnny Carson was the king of late-night television. Night after night, he welcomed Hollywood's biggest stars with a smile, a joke, and an effortless charm that made audiences feel like they were spending an evening with an old friend. Appearing on The Tonight Show wasn't just another television interview. It was often the moment that transformed a performer into a household name. But behind that warm smile was a level of influence few people truly understood. Some celebrities walked onto Carson's stage expecting another successful appearance. They laughed with him, entertained the audience, and seemed to leave on good terms. Yet, for reasons that were rarely explained publicly, some of those same stars were never invited back. Their absence wasn't announced. There were no dramatic press conferences or public arguments. They simply disappeared from one of the most important television platforms in America. Why? Was it simply bad timing? Personal disagreements? Or did Johnny Carson possess a kind of behind-the-scenes power that quietly shaped careers without viewers ever realizing it? Stay with us, because the answer reveals a side of Hollywood that many people never saw. The most powerful chair in television. To understand these stories, you first have to understand just how powerful The Tonight Show really was. Today, celebrities have countless ways to reach audiences. They can post on social media, appear on podcasts, or promote their work through streaming platforms. But during Johnny Carson's reign, the entertainment world looked completely different. If you were a comedian hoping to become famous, there was one place that mattered more than anywhere else: The Tonight Show. One successful appearance could completely change a person's life. Club owners suddenly wanted to book you. Television producers noticed your talent. Movie studios became interested. Your phone started ringing with opportunities that didn't exist the day before. Many comedians later admitted that Carson's approval was the closest thing Hollywood had to receiving an official stamp of success. Even Carson himself understood this influence. When he invited someone to sit beside his famous desk after a performance, it wasn't just another interview. It was a signal to millions of viewers and to powerful people throughout the entertainment industry that this performer was someone worth watching. Careers were launched in a single evening, and just as careers could be created, many believed they could also quietly disappear. Unlike modern celebrities who constantly share their personal thoughts online, Carson remained extremely private. He rarely explained his decisions. He almost never discussed personal disagreements publicly. That silence only added to the mystery surrounding him. If someone suddenly stopped appearing on The Tonight Show, audiences were left to wonder what had happened. Usually, no explanation ever came. The rules nobody wrote down. Working in Hollywood has always involved understanding both spoken and unspoken rules. There were contracts, schedules, and business agreements that everyone could see. But there were also invisible expectations that were never written anywhere. Respect the people in power. Don't embarrass influential figures. Know and stay quiet. Many entertainers believe these unwritten rules mattered just as much as talent itself. Johnny Carson wasn't known for shouting at people or creating public scandals. Instead, those who worked around the industry often described him as someone who simply remembered. If he felt disappointed, if he believed someone had betrayed his trust, if he thought a guest had crossed a line, he didn't always argue. Sometimes, he simply never invited them back. That quiet approach made Carson's influence even more powerful. Nobody knew exactly where the line was. That uncertainty created an atmosphere where performers constantly wondered whether they had accidentally offended the most important host in television. Whether every story about Carson's influence is completely accurate remains a matter of debate. Some accounts come directly from celebrities involved, while others have been repeated for years throughout Hollywood. But regardless of which version people believe, one thing is clear. Many entertainers genuinely feared losing Carson's support. When comedy became dangerous, for comedians especially, this created a difficult balancing act. Comedy depends on making fun of people. Impressions, jokes, and playful criticism are part of the profession. But what happened when the target of the joke was Johnny Carson himself? Several performers reportedly discovered that even harmless humor could have unexpected consequences. One frequently mentioned example was Rich Little, a comedian famous for his celebrity impressions. His talent made audiences laugh across America, but some stories suggest that Carson wasn't always comfortable being one of those impressions. Others point to Dana Carvey, whose remarkable ability to imitate famous personalities became legendary. Although Carvey found enormous success, stories have circulated for years claiming that Carson didn't appreciate every impression made at his expense. Whether every detail of these stories is true has been debated for decades. Yet the fact that so many similar stories continue to circulate says something important about Carson's reputation behind the scenes. People believed he held enormous power, and they acted accordingly. No one wanted to become the next celebrity whose invitations quietly stopped arriving. But among all the names connected to Carson's alleged feuds, one relationship stood above every other. It wasn't just another disagreement. It wasn't simply another celebrity disappearing from the guest list. It became one of the most famous and heartbreaking betrayals in late-night television history. Ironically, the person at the center of that story wasn't someone Carson disliked from the beginning. She was someone he personally helped build into a star. Her name was Joan Rivers. And before their relationship fell apart, Johnny Carson had treated her like one of the brightest young talents he had ever discovered. That made what happened next far more shocking than anyone could have imagined. Part 2. The protege who changed everything. Long before Joan Rivers became one of the most recognizable comedians in America, she was simply another performer trying to survive in an industry that rarely gave newcomers a second chance. She spent years performing in small clubs, writing jokes, and taking whatever opportunities came her way. Success didn't happen overnight. Like countless comedians before her, she faced rejection after rejection, never knowing if the next performance would finally be the one that changed her life. That moment arrived when Johnny Carson noticed her talent. Carson had an extraordinary ability to recognize comedians who connected with audiences. He understood timing, confidence, and stage presence better than almost anyone in television. When he believed someone had genuine potential, his support could open doors that had previously seemed impossible to unlock. Joan Rivers quickly became one of those rare performers. Her first appearances on The Tonight Show were electric. Her fast-paced style, fearless humor, and sharp observations immediately won over audiences. More importantly, they impressed Johnny Carson himself. Then came the moment every comedian dreamed about. Instead of ending her performance and sending her backstage, Carson invited Rivers to sit beside him. To television viewers, it may have looked like a simple interview. Inside the entertainment industry, it meant something far greater. It was Carson's public way of saying, "This person belongs here." Almost overnight, Joan Rivers became one of the hottest names in comedy. Television offers multiplied. Major theaters wanted her. Hollywood producers began paying attention. For many people watching from home, Carson appeared almost like a proud mentor introducing America to its next comedy superstar. Over the years, Rivers became one of his most frequent guests. Their conversations felt natural. They joked effortlessly together. Many viewers even believed she was the obvious choice to eventually succeed Carson whenever he decided to retire. Whether that possibility was ever officially discussed remains uncertain, but the speculation became widespread throughout Hollywood. The chemistry between them seemed undeniable. Few people imagined their relationship would end in complete silence. Fame changes everything. As Joan Rivers' popularity continued to grow, so did her ambitions. She wasn't satisfied with simply being a regular guest on someone else's program. Like many successful entertainers, she wanted the opportunity to build something of her own. There was nothing unusual about that. Actors became directors. Writers became producers. Comedians became television hosts. Career growth was a natural part of Hollywood. But in Carson's world, loyalty mattered just as much as ambition. For years, Carson had invested his reputation in helping Rivers become successful. He introduced her to America, supported her career, and repeatedly welcomed her back to the nation's biggest late-night stage. Many people assumed that if Rivers ever made a major career move, Carson would naturally be among the first people she told. That assumption would soon prove to be disastrously wrong. A decision that shocked Hollywood. During the mid-1980s, television networks were aggressively competing against one another. Late-night programming had become incredibly valuable. Executives wanted recognizable personalities who could attract loyal audiences. Joan Rivers suddenly found herself with an extraordinary opportunity. She was offered her own late-night television show on a competing network. Professionally, it was a chance of a lifetime. Hosting her own national program meant creative freedom, greater financial rewards, and the opportunity to step out from Carson's enormous shadow. Accepting the offer seemed like the logical next step in her career. But there was one problem. Johnny Carson didn't hear about the decision from Joan Rivers. Instead, he reportedly learned about it through network executives and media reports. For Carson, the issue wasn't simply that Rivers had accepted another job. According to numerous accounts over the years, he believed she had failed to show him the respect and personal loyalty he expected after everything he had done for her career. Rivers would later insist that circumstances were more complicated than many people realized. She claimed she wanted to speak with Carson personally, but never had the opportunity before the announcement became public. Whether that explanation would have changed anything remains impossible to know, because once Carson felt betrayed, there appeared to be no path back. The silence that spoke volumes. Unlike many celebrity feuds, there were no televised shouting matches, no dramatic interviews, no lengthy public arguments. Instead, there was silence. Joan Rivers was no longer invited back to The Tonight Show. Years passed, then decades. Despite becoming one of America's best-known comedians, she never again sat across from Johnny Carson on the program that had launched her career. The absence became impossible to ignore. Entertainment reporters asked questions. Fans wondered whether reconciliation would ever happen. But Carson rarely discussed the situation publicly. That silence only made the story more fascinating. People began asking an even bigger question. If someone as talented and successful as Joan Rivers could disappear from Carson's guest list forever, what chance did anyone else have? And as more stories surfaced involving other entertainers who allegedly found themselves on Carson's bad side, a pattern, whether real or exaggerated, began taking shape. It suggested that Carson's greatest power was never what audiences saw on camera. It was what happened after the cameras stopped rolling. The criticism did not fade away. Instead, it followed Johnny Depp wherever he went. For years, every public appearance, every interview, and every movie announcement came with the same questions. Reporters wanted to know about the allegations. Fans argued online. Supporters of both sides refused to back down. Then something unexpected happened. Another famous voice entered the conversation. Comedian Joan Rivers had never been known for staying quiet. Throughout her career, she built a reputation for saying exactly what she believed, even if it upset powerful people. She often joked about celebrities, but when she spoke about serious issues, people listened. After hearing about the accusations surrounding Depp, Rivers questioned the public reaction. She believed people were rushing to judgment before all the facts were available. Her comments immediately became controversial. Some praised her willingness to challenge the popular narrative. Others accused her of defending someone without knowing everything that had happened. Just like Depp, Rivers became part of a larger debate. The discussion was no longer only about one actor. It had become a conversation about public opinion, media influence, and whether accusations alone should determine someone's future. As the legal battles continued, more evidence was introduced. Witnesses testified. Experts offered opinions. Private messages were examined. Recordings were played. Every new piece of information changed how some people viewed the case. Many who had once believed they already knew the truth began to realize the situation was far more complicated than they first imagined. The courtroom became the place where facts mattered more than headlines. Millions watched as each side presented its arguments. For many viewers, it was the first time they had seen an entire legal case unfold in real time. Instead of relying on short news clips or social media posts, they listened to testimony for themselves. Some changed their opinions. Others did not. But nearly everyone agreed on one thing. The story was far more complex than it had originally appeared. For Johnny Depp, the legal victory represented more than winning a lawsuit. It was a chance to rebuild. Although no courtroom decision could erase the years of damage to his reputation, it gave him an opportunity to move forward. Slowly, new projects began appearing. Directors expressed interest again. Fans welcomed his return. While some critics remained unconvinced, many believed he had earned another chance. His career would never look exactly the same. Too much had happened. Too many years had passed. But survival itself became part of his story. He had experienced enormous success. He had suffered extraordinary public humiliation. And somehow, he had managed to continue. The controversy also changed how many people viewed celebrity culture. For years, fans had accepted headlines as facts. Now, more people questioned early reports. They waited for evidence before reaching conclusions. They realized that complicated situations could not always be explained with a single headline or a 30-second video. The case became a reminder of how quickly reputations can rise and how quickly they can collapse. It also showed how difficult it can be to rebuild trust once it has been lost. Even today, conversations about Johnny Depp continue. Some remember him as Captain Jack Sparrow, the unforgettable pirate who entertained millions. Others think first about the courtroom drama that dominated international news. Both chapters are now part of his legacy. Neither can be erased. History rarely remembers only the victories. It also remembers the struggles. For Depp, those struggles became as public as his greatest successes. Perhaps the biggest lesson from this story is not about one celebrity. It is about all of us. In a world where information spreads faster than ever, opinions often form before facts emerge. Social media rewards speed, not patience. Breaking news rarely tells a whole story. And once a narrative takes hold, changing it can be almost impossible. Johnny Depp's experience demonstrated just how powerful public opinion can become. It also showed the importance of allowing legal processes, not internet debates, to examine evidence carefully. Whether someone supports Depp, disagrees with him, or remains undecided, the case encouraged millions of people to think more critically about the information they consume. Because behind every viral headline is usually a much longer story, one that deserves time, evidence, and careful consideration. The rise, the fall, the fight to rebuild. Johnny Depp's journey remains one of Hollywood's most remarkable stories. Not simply because of fame or fortune, but because it revealed how fragile reputation can be in the modern world. And perhaps that is why people continue talking about it today. Not because every question has been answered, but because the story reminds us that truth is often more complicated than it first appears. If you enjoyed this documentary and want more deep dives into the biggest stories in Hollywood history, be sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss our next episode. Thanks for watching.